Imagine that you found yourself on a speeding train which had completely lost control, and there was nothing that the train driver could do to stop it. This train was headed for a broken bridge that had collapsed, and just as you were 100 meters away from certain death, the train came to a complete stop. Hello my fellow seekers, my name is Vas Solo. Welcome to Why Spirit Matters, a channel devoted to exploring spirituality. Today's video is about miracles. I'd like to tell you about a miracle that happened in my life and also give you a practical explanation of what makes them possible.
Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple?
Let's start by defining what a miracle is. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines it as an extraordinary event manifesting divine intervention in human affairs. We can also say that it's a phenomenon that we cannot explain. Imagine for a second that we could take someone that lived 500 years ago and bring them into the present time. The things that they saw would probably blow their mind. A simple technology like the TV would make no sense to them. It would be a phenomenon that they couldn't explain. And yet to us, it's nothing special. That's why we can assume that 500 years in our future, discoveries will be made that would blow our mind.
Hello, Alice. Welcome to Wonderland.
And these might not even come in the form of technology. In the future, science might be replaced by something else that lets us tap into realities and laws that exist outside the realm of matter. To assert that these realities don't exist simply because we haven't discovered them would be ignorant. The most honest thing we can say is that we don't know.
It's a miracle these people ever got out of the 20th century.
Now here's the miracle that happened in my life. As you may or may not know, I was addicted to drugs and alcohol for 12 years. Now, what non-addicts don't understand about the disease is how powerless it makes the addict. It's something even addicts can't admit until it's too late. It took me 10 plus years of fighting with my disease to reach that conclusion. But once I did, I was ready to get help. Now, I would have never guessed that that help would come in the form of divine intervention. So here's what happened. I went to a 12-step meeting, I got a sponsor, and I recovered by working the 12 steps. Step 1 was admitting that I was powerless over drugs and all mind-altering substances. Step 2 was being willing to believe that a power greater than me could restore me to sanity. Step 3 was making the decision to turn my thoughts and my actions over to that higher power. You can easily make the case that this was not a very scientific approach, and yet it worked.
Wingardium Leviosa.
After I worked those 3 steps with my sponsor, the craving that I'd fought for 12 years and couldn't control was gone. Just like that. Remember that train that I mentioned in the beginning of the video? Well, my addiction was that speeding train. And just like that, it had come to a complete stop. There was no gradual weaning off process, no daily struggle to control it. It was simply gone. Now that is a miracle. And even though science can't explain it, neither can it reproduce it, and yet the 12-step program can and has hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times. Therefore, I think it's reasonable to attribute this phenomenon to divine intervention. I know some people will be reluctant to do that, and that's fine, but I didn't have that option. For me, it was a matter of life and death. Now, as I was working the steps, an amazing book about yoga fell into my lap, called The Perennial Psychology of the Bhagavad Gita, written by Swamiramas. In it, he explained that there's an actual step-by-step process by which we can experience God. Knowing that I didn't have to rely on blind belief, but that I could test my faith in the laboratory of my own consciousness really inspired me. So I started meditating and living a spiritual lifestyle while continuing to read his books. And while reading his autobiography, I learned that he had actually come to America in 1969. While here, he took part in several scientific experiments at the Menninger Foundation to showcase some of the abilities that he had acquired through the practice of yoga. These included simultaneously raising and lowering the temperature in adjacent muscles by 10 Fahrenheit, stopping his heart from pumping blood for several minutes, moving an object with his mind in an environment carefully controlled for the motion of air and electromagnetic forces, spontaneously creating cysts under his skin, and also voluntarily entering into alpha, theta, and delta brainwave states. In one experiment, Swamiramas was able to consciously enter into REM sleep, which is a state of deep sleep. While the experiment was taking place, 2 technicians were quietly talking in the next room. When the experiment was over, Swamirama was able to recount their conversation verbatim. So in addition to being focused on his inward state, he was also aware of his external environment. As of yet, there is no explanation in neuroscience as to how he did this. Yogis like Swamirama can perform such miracles because their training of the body and mind gives them access to subtle realms underlying material existence. That's how saints like Jesus and others were able to heal the sick, raise the dead, and materialize objects out of thin air. They knew about these subtle laws that science has yet to discover. They also understood that most people living in those times were not consciously ready to learn about them. Swamirama wrote that in the end, he was disappointed with the results of his work at the Menninger Foundation, because he saw that even after he did what he did under strict scientific scrutiny, the scientists that were testing him still remained skeptical. They couldn't remove the paradigms they held in their minds about what was possible. That's why my message to anyone watching is to keep an open mind, because the answers that we're looking for are not found in the realm of the familiar, but in the realm of the unknown. That's it for today's video, guys. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. I upload 1 video every Sunday talking about the spiritual path and what we could do to live a more meaningful life. Let me know in the comments what you thought of today's talk. Have you experienced a miracle in your life? Let me know. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.